It is about time we started seeing some movement on the roster, specifically in this area for the Red Sox. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video, ladies and gentlemen. Over the last 24 hours, we've seen a whole lot of movement on this Red Sox roster, right? I mean, we made 2 roster move videos yesterday, basically a flip-flop of 4 different players here in the last 24 hours. The Red Sox aren't done yet. Specifically, though, they aren't done with making roster moves in an area of this team that really needed it, and I'm talking about the bullpen. We've been talking about the Red Sox bullpen for basically a week now, a little bit over, right? Where these sort of not even just the high leverage guys, which are having some bad appearances lately for sure, but I mean the low leverage guys in particular. Just feels like the Red Sox can't find any of these solid middle relief options to either keep a game close or just simply put a game away that's been away for the last couple of innings. I mean, every single part of it has an effect on this bullpen, and it's a reason why we're seeing this sort of ripple effect throughout the rest of the bullpen. A lot of people were calling for some movement, and we finally got it. This dates back, I would say, even to the beginning of the Padres series, right? Last night and the end of the Marlins series is a kind of perfect example of this, because in the middle of this Marlins series, you were up by 5 runs, and you were like, okay, let's just turn this thing over to Isaiah Campbell. Even if he gives up a couple of runs, oh well, at least you still have this cushion. You'll be able to win this game. Well, unfortunately, he wasn't able to come in here and actually close out the game. He just continued to get hit and get hit and get hit to the point where it became a high leverage situation, and you needed to bring in Aroldis Chapman, leading to the next game where instead of Aroldis Chapman, you had to use guys like Whitlock, Weissert, Matz, right? Weissert wasn't able to get the job done, which means that yesterday when the Red Sox were down 2-0, instead of going to a guy like Weissert or Whitlock, you had to go to a guy like Jovani Moran or Jordan Hicks, and both of those guys couldn't get the job done, and all of a sudden you're losing a game because you can't figure out the middle innings, and it's something that's driven Red Sox fans crazy for a pretty long period of time, right? Over the last couple of years, it's been really tough. This year, it's been a lot better. Recently, it just simply hasn't been. I mean, Jordan Hicks, man, this guy just cannot figure himself out in a Red Sox uniform, can he? I mean, so far since the trade where he came over for Rafael Devers, he's had 14 innings of work in 15 games where he's given up 16 hits, 14 total runs, 11 of them earned. He does have 13 Ks, which you could point to and say, hey, maybe if you figure something out, this is good. But on top of 14 Ks, he's given up 8 walks. He's intentionally walked 1 batter and hit 4 batsmen. So he is essentially putting the same amount of guys on base via the free pass that he's currently striking out right now. On top of that, he has 5 wild pitches so far in 14 innings. Throughout Jordan Hicks' entire career, he has a career high of 9 wild pitches total over the course of his rookie season, which was 77 2/3 innings. In 14, he has 5. That's not good statistics, ladies and gentlemen, right? So all of a sudden, you're sitting here with these guys that are getting forced into high leverage roles because your lower leverage guys can't figure out what to do, and it's all just becoming a little bit of a kerfuffle. And the Red Sox, they noticed that, and they said, well, wait a second, we got to do something about this, and last night they finally did. Because last night after the game, after Jovani Moran came in and he gave up 2 runs in a close game against the Baltimore Orioles, he was optioned down to AAA Worcester. Now, to be totally fair to Jovani, he doesn't really have an adequate sample size for us to really sort of judge him on what he's been doing at the major league level. It was 2 appearances, 4 innings, came up with 3 earned runs with 3 walks and 5 Ks. Honestly, I do think there is something here with Jovani, right? His stuff is kind of gross. When he could figure out how to locate it correctly, it's pretty, he was getting some ugly swing and misses last night. It was just a matter of he simply cannot figure out how to actually acquire those swing and misses because he just simply doesn't know where the ball's going, right? A couple of walks mixed in there. He's had a couple of walks throughout his couple appearances with the Red Sox. So it was sort of like, okay, there's something here with Jovani, but the Red Sox just simply don't have time to sit there and figure out what it is, right? The Red Sox aren't in a position right now to go out there and start experimenting with guys and letting them struggle at the major league level level until they could turn a corner. Right now, every single game feels like it's top priority, especially with your loss last night. You're in a virtual tie with every single other person in this wild card race. More importantly, you're in a virtual tie with the New York Yankees, who you are going to their town over these next few days, right? These games become vitally important at the end of August and in September. Can't sit there and say, hey man, let's go out there, let's see what we could get with this guy, especially when you've got other players like Isaiah Campbell and Jordan Hicks in this bullpen where there's not really any experimenting going on. You just sort of know who they are, right? You know exactly what kind of players those guys are going to be, and they're not great players for the Boston Red Sox. You're already trying to experiment with Jordan Hicks because he does have some success in the past. You can't keep experimenting with a bunch of other players, and Jovani Moran just kind of got caught in this crossfire a little bit, right? Again, the talent is pretty solid. It's just that you don't have time to spare to sit there and say, hey man, let's get you into the bullpen, let's get you working on some stuff, and eventually maybe you figure things out. We'll use you in a lower leverage role until you can maybe push yourself into a medium leverage or even a high leverage situation. Right now, those positions are currently occupied by Isaiah Campbell and Jordan Hicks. So you sit there, and it's just unfortunate timing with Jovani. Maybe if he had been up here at the beginning of the year, things would be a little bit different, but ultimately this makes a lot of sense to me. We need someone who is reliable, who is solid, that you can use in almost every situation, and that's exactly what they went and got. Because the corresponding move was to finally get Brennan Bernardino back up to Major League Baseball. And I don't know what Bernie did to tick off someone in this front office, but it feels like he just sort of ends up getting, passed on for no apparent reason outside of, hey, Chris Murphy needed some innings, which at the time made some sense. We talked about it, right? But man, it has been way too long since Bernie has been on this Major League roster. He was eligible to come up a few days ago, so it is kind of odd that the Red Sox sat there and said, we're going to try Jovani Moran before we get Bernie back up here. But regardless, in my opinion, this is a really good thing. Bernie has been, if nothing, reliable for the Boston Red Sox this season. So far out of the pen this year, he has a 3.09 ERA in 43 2/3 innings with a 3.48 FIP, a 1.260 WHIP, and a 1.33 ERA plus. We've talked about it before, but he also had an 11-game scoreless streak in terms of appearances before he got optioned. He's kind of continued that down in the minors. He's had 4 appearances down there, just 4, so they've been kind of sort of resting him a little bit. He's basically appeared every 3 or 4 days for the Worcester Red Sox, which is fantastic, right? So not only was he doing well before he got optioned, he also has a pretty fresh arm. In those 4 appearances, the first one he gave up a run in 1 inning, but the other 3 were all 1-inning scoreless appearances. He only allowed 1 hit during that time span. He struck out 5 guys. The Red Sox from here on out need to put their best team on the field as much as they humanly can. Obviously, injuries and stuff are going to have a factor in that, and it just makes sense that Bernie is a part of that, right? He's going to be this sort of every man, every position type reliever, and that's exactly what you need right now, right? You need a guy who's a mix of low leverage, who's a mix of medium leverage, who can come into a high leverage situation, sort of fill these gaps in the bullpen, and Bernie's been that guy for most of the season so far. I don't know in what particular role the Red Sox are going to use Bernie now that he's back up with the Red Sox, but I would imagine, again, it's sort of that jack of all trades. I could imagine him seeing some high leverage situations like we saw in Philadelphia before he got optioned, right? Where, hey, Greg Weiser couldn't get the job done. We got 2 outs. We just simply need you to get that last out, Bernie, so we can figure out this game. And that's sort of what Bernie's been this year, and I imagine that's what he's going to be now that he's back on the Boston Red Sox, but I'm pretty excited about it, right? I know it's not the most elite reliever we've ever seen, but he's been reliable this year, and right now the Red Sox need something that is reliable, but this doesn't solve everything in the pen. It does sort of give you the opportunity to push potentially Greg Weiser into lower leverage situations, which would be fantastic. It does allow you to maybe get Justin Wilson off his feet a little bit and not be the only high leverage lefty in that bullpen. So you are doing something, but it's not everything. However, a solution to just about everything could be right around the corner. Because I think it's pretty clear that having Isaiah Campbell and Jordan Hicks in this bullpen just simply isn't feasible at this point. Both of these guys are, at this point, mop-up relievers, right? They're not guys who you're going to be able to trust, again, bridging from the 6th to the 7th, unless the Red Sox are up by 6 runs or the Red Sox are down by 4 runs. If it's a close game, you just simply cannot rely on these 2 guys. And unfortunately, both of them being in your bullpen forces one of them to be more than just a mop-up guy. So how do you fix fix that? Well, you get one of your best relievers back from their injured list. That's exactly how you do it, because on top of Bernie coming up and rejoining the Boston Red Sox, we got some absolutely fantastic news on reliever Justin Slayton, because yesterday it was announced that Slayton felt so good recently that he's just going to skip his last live bullpen session. He's going to go straight to a rehab assignment. He's officially been assigned to the Worcester Red Sox to begin his rehab assignment and get back with this Red Sox team. Getting these statistics back are going to be fantastic. So far this year, it's a 3.47 ERA with a 3.20 FIP, a 0.90 WHIP, so not a lot of traffic. He just sort of got damaged with the bases empty. 1.19 ERA plus, and maybe they're not the greatest statistics in the world, but they are a whole lot better than the guys you currently have on this roster. I'm looking at squarely Isaiah Campbell and Jordan Hicks. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for Justin Slayton to actually come back and rejoin the Boston Red Sox. My guess is that it's probably going to be 2 or 3 outings, just based on simply other guys this season who have gone through a similar process, been taken, Liam Hendriks, a prime example of this. Obviously, Hendriks didn't end up working out, but you got, 2 or 3 rehab appearances after missing a month, and then he ended up back with the Red Sox in about a week and a half. So in my opinion, the timeline for Justin Slayton's probably towards the end of this next Orioles series, which, would I prefer him in the New York series? Yeah, I absolutely would. But at the same time, too, getting him back at all before the end of August is just absolutely fantastic. For a while, it didn't feel like that was going to happen. So I'm pretty pumped to have Justin Slayton back, because it does one really big thing for the Red Sox, right? And it sort of fixes their ability to situate the bullpen a little bit. Again, Jordan Hicks and Isaiah Campbell being in there forces one of them into the non-mop-up role, which is where the problems have lied for the Red Sox. However, Justin Slayton, who's very clearly going to take over Isaiah Campbell's role in the bullpen, the Red Sox, they're not gonna give up on Jordan Hicks, unfortunately. They're paying him too much money. They gave up Rafael Devers to get this guy in your bullpen, along with Kyle Harrison and James Tibbs, who ended up becoming Dustin May. You get rid of Isaiah Campbell, and all of a sudden, you get a really high leverage arm back, specifically a high leverage right-handed arm back, and all of a sudden you can kind of push everyone out a little bit. You can pair him with Whitlock, and all of a sudden you've got 2 really, really solid high leverage righties that you could throw in basically any situation and expect them to, at the bare minimum, keep you within this game. It pushes Greg Weiser back into that medium leverage role, which is really where he shined so far this season. It pushes Jordan Hicks into that sort of mop-up low leverage role, which is exactly where he should be, right? You should not be putting Jordan Hicks in a game unless you are up by 15 runs or down by 15 runs. So that's exactly where he should be. So you're looking at this and you're saying, Corbin, where's the solutions to the bullpen, right? How do they figure out how to get from where they are right now back to what they were when the Red Sox were really cooking? And this is exactly it. You get Bernie back, you sit him in there, you make him that jack of all trades, and you bring Justin Slayton back into this fold. You put him back into a high leverage role. He probably won't immediately be in that high leverage role. Regardless, you push everyone else out, and all of a sudden, this bullpen looks a lot better. A back end of Aroldis Chapman, Justin Slayton, Justin Wilson, and Garrett Whitlock looks a whole lot better right now than Aroldis Chapman, Justin Wilson, Greg Weisert, Garrett Whitlock, right? I just think it makes a lot of sense to get Slayton back in here. And then when rosters expand, then we can start having the conversation of, is it Tolley? Is it Sandlin? Is it Conley Early? Is it Uberstein, right? You've got a whole lot of options down in AAA on top of these guys. So you look back on these roster moves, I think as a Red Sox fan, you should be excited about these, right? You should be excited about Bernie coming back because of what he's done this season, because of what it's going to do for the Red Sox bullpen, hopefully, right? Relievers are always sort of a hopefully caveat to that. Sometimes they just lose things and can't get it back, and we know this. But right now, it's a hope that Bernardino comes in and he starts to end up being that sort of medium to high leverage reliever that you could plug and play basically in any situation, really sort of be the glue that this bullpen needs. And then obviously the outlook of Justin Slayton coming back is absolutely fantastic. One, to get Isaiah Campbell off this roster as soon as humanly possible. I don't even know if Campbell's going to make it the entirety of Justin Slayton's rehab process, right? We may see Isaiah Campbell option very quickly here, just simply because the Red Sox can't afford to have both of these guys in the bullpen, but doing so kind of puts the Red Sox bullpen in a much better place than it is today, and that's exactly what the Red Sox need. If the Red Sox end up in the last wild card spot or they end up out of the playoffs because of this bullpen, it is going to be utterly embarrassing. And right now, the Red Sox just simply can't afford to not have their most talented players on the field at all times, and that includes the bullpen. And by doing this move with Bernie and by getting Justin Slayton back within the next week and a half is absolutely putting yourself much closer towards that 100% than it is right now. And so you sit here and you talk about what are the problems with the Red Sox. This could be a potential really big solution to one of their biggest problems, and that's a really, really good sign. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? What do you think about the Bernardino move? What do you think about the Justin Slayton move? And how do you think it's going to impact this Red Sox bullpen? Are you as excited about this thing as I am? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.